Like, what am I doing? I'm doing it for the show. Field of 68 till I die.
This is the Field of 68 After Dark Show, the only place that you need to be for college hoops every single night.
Welcome in to the Thursday edition of the Field 68 After Dark, presented by Bet Rivers, of course. We are live on Sirius Channel 84, ESPNU, also, of course, streaming on YouTube. Make sure to check that out. Get in the chat, ask us some questions if you're feeling up to it. I am Jim Root, your host for the night. Pleased to be joined by former Murray State and Iowa State head coach Steve Prohm. A little less pleased to be joined by Stadium insider Jeff Goodman, but he's here as well. You know, I guess we got to deal with it. Fellas, we had an intriguing slate before the night tonight, but I would say some of these games didn't end up as close as we expected. One of those is Gonzaga. They've taken it to San Francisco tonight, been up by 15 basically the entire second half. Don's starting to make a little bit of push late here, just forced a timeout with 3.5 minutes left. But Steve, we'll go to you first here. I mean, this Gonzaga team, they basically answered every single test that's come their way in league play. They've blown everybody out. How do we feel about this team going towards March right now? Is it bad that they haven't been tested, or are you more impressed that they've dominated every single team like this?
Honestly, because of the way they play their non-conference schedule and the amount of teams they play in the non-conference that are legit top 10, top 15 teams, and they play them everywhere. They played them, home, Texas. They play neutral. They've been tested in every form or fashion. And so I'm impressed to go through that league and be as, dominating, to where now Dons are making a little push. It's 11 right now, but to be comfortable up 15 really most of this second half and to do it consistently throughout the whole West Coast Conference League, I'm very, 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 very impressed with what Mark Few and his team has done.
Yeah, Jeff, how about you? I mean, is this kind of like to the point where there's going to be obviously tons of comparisons made between last year's Gonzaga team, this year's Gonzaga team. To me, last year felt like it was the offense. That was the story game after game. This team can win in a few more ways. Obviously, it's been offense tonight against San Francisco, but the defense locked down for kind of the final 30 minutes. The defense against St. Mary's was terrific. So do you think that adds an element to them come March because they have a little bit more different ways to win?
Yeah, I mean, you got Chet. You got that length that you didn't have last year, and it kind of cost them against Baylor. Timmy, the one thing with Drew Timmy is he's got trouble scoring against length as well. So I think Chet and Timmy work so well together. But I think the other thing was going into the year, I wasn't sure. And I remember going out for their game against Texas and even talking to a few in their staff a little bit. And their concern was like, are we a good enough, shooting team from three? And tonight, I think they're 10 to 20, maybe something like that. And they've made enough, throughout the year collectively. I mean, Chet is shooting the hell out of the ball this year. Like that is probably the biggest surprise is Chet started off slow shooting it from deep, but he's been absolutely, sensational, and he doesn't fall in love with it. It's not like he's jacking 8 threes a game. He picks his spots. He gets good looks. Obviously, he can rise up over anybody, especially in the WCC. My biggest question, Jim, is did we overrate the WCC? Is it not as good to where Gonzaga is looking better now because BYU isn't what we thought they were? USF is a fringe tournament team, and St. Mary's I saw in person. They're good, but they're not like your typical St. Mary's team that Randy Bennett's had in the past with, a bunch of pros, maybe not NBA guys, but pros.
Yeah, seeing them up close, I saw them out here in Vegas too. They're so solid. They don't make any mistakes, that St. Mary's team, but they don't feel like they have the gear to go at a team like Gonzaga. They're not going to bring it the same way somebody like Alabama or Duke did to Gonzaga early in the year. Steve, I want to ask you with this Gonzaga team and with the added element of Chet that they have as rim protector they didn't have last year, how would you attack Gonzaga? I mean, everybody's trying to come up with a game plan for them in that league, but entering the tournament, even with like a quick turnaround, what would you do against this Gonzaga team?
Yeah, I think the one thing that Jeff touched on is right, with just Chet around the basket and his length and his ability to change shots and not just block shots. Sometimes, great big men, they just change shots, and just your pure presence
Yeah.
can mess with guys. I mean, I've seen it for years. And so I think the biggest thing you've got to do, and I think you saw Baylor do it at the end of the year last year, is you've really got to spread them out. You got to put them in rotation. You got to get those bigs away from the basket, whether that's Timmy, whether that's Chet, and put them in position where they've got to be out on the perimeter and open up the floor to where you can put pressure on them. Because to beat Gonzaga, in my opinion, you've got to be efficient on the offensive end of the floor in order to slow them down in transition. If you turn the ball over, if you're shooting quickly or shooting poor shots, they are a burst of speed in transition. They can run wings. And Jeff touched on the one thing the coaches were worried about. If you told me my team's going to shoot 38% from three as a team for the year, I'd probably be pretty excited, from that standpoint. I mean, we were ranting and raving about Baylor last year, and they were plus 40. They were elite. When you go down the table and you're mid 40s, I think they were. I'm not exactly sure if it was 43 or 45, but if your weakness is 38% from three as a team, then you're really, really good offensively. And so I think you've got to spread them out, whether that's in pick and roll or just 5 out, open the floor and get Chet and Timmy away from the basket as much as possible.
Yeah, I think the point about being efficient offensively is huge, because we see the transition offense and how deadly it is, and we think, all right, teams should just walk the ball up against them. But really, you got to kind of play your game, and it's more about not taking bad shots, not turning the ball over to keep them out of transition. It's not, you can't totally avoid running with them, or you're going to miss out on a lot of easy baskets, especially with a backline rim protector like they have. So yeah, Jeff, you kind of brought it up. Is Gonzaga this good because the rest of the WCC is a little weaker? I mean, you said you've seen some of these teams in person. Is it gotten to the point where you're a little maybe not sure they've been tested the last couple of months?
I don't think they've been tested that much, but I don't think it matters. Okay. Like, everybody's going to talk about it. That's always the easy talking point, right? Well, they played against nobody for however long, and now they're going to go to the tournament and, jumping up. I don't think that's going to be the case. I really don't. I think this team fits very well together. That's one of the things. I actually think last year when you had Suggs and Nembhard, I almost felt like the ball needed to be in Nembhard's hands more last year than it was. It was in Suggs's hands more, and it didn't matter. Listen, you were going against Baylor. They were the best team in the country.
Yeah, no.
They were at a different level. There is not that team this year, right? There's not that dominant team. So I think Gonzaga, when you look at it, you've got that pure point guard, Nembhard. He's running the team all the time, other than when he's out and Hickman's running it for a few minutes. But, Bolton shot it well enough. And Steve, you know him well,
yeah.
Like, not a great shooter, but
he's made them this year. Yeah, he's made
right. And a lot of these dudes are getting uncontested shots because, again, when you have Timmy and Chet, what do? I love Julian Strother. Nobody talks about this kid. And I'm telling you, I think he can be an NBA player down the road. I really do.
Yeah, he's done his best Kispert impression, being the guy that just buries the open shots close to 50%. I mean, you mentioned Holmgren's shooting too. He's leading the entire conference in 3-point percentage and block rate. Like, to have a guy that does both of those things, that's absolutely ludicrous. Just adds a gear that they really didn't have last year. I thought early in the season, maybe a weakness for them was defending off the dribble. I thought Alabama and Duke kind of took advantage of them a little bit in that regard. But I think Holmgren has sort of asserted himself even more so as a rim protector than he did at that point in the year. It feels like they've assimilated more into their roles. They've gotten used to playing together. And at this point, man, they certainly are the juggernaut that they're made out to be. What about San Francisco, Steve? I mean, a team that we were talking about pre-show doesn't have the really high level wins, the Q1A, if you will, for bubble purposes, but the teams they've beaten that they're relying on, like UAB, probably not a tournament team. BYU sliding out of the tournament. Santa Clara is some of their good wins. They're not a tournament team. Do you feel like the team is the Dons are legitimate, or are they kind of a little bit more smoke and mirrors at this point?
Well, I think they're a very good basketball team. I mean, there's no question about that. I don't think that's the debate. I think the debate is, are they a 10, 11, 12 seed? Are they one of those last, 4 to 8 teams that get into the NCAA field? And I think when you go back and kind of look at everybody's bracket, they're sitting on the edge right now in that 10, 11, 12 range when you look at it. And these was the pop game for them tonight, I thought, when I'm looking at it, to where, hey, you can solidify yourself tonight. You got Gonzaga at home, a place over the years. Gonzaga's played some tough games over there. This was an opportunity for them. And I thought, I hadn't seen the final score yet. I knew they had got it down to 10, but if they ended up getting beat right here, do we have the score in front of us? This is an opportunity missed for them, in my opinion. But obviously they've done a tremendous job out there. Very impressed with the team, but games like Loyola on the neutral floor, this one tonight, I think those are some opportunities missed that they didn't get.
Yeah, they're the only way they feel comfortable on Selection Sunday at this point. Now they're probably going to be slotting into the 4-5 game against BYU in that tournament, and they're going to get another shot at Gonzaga. And if they don't get that one, they go down in the semis, then they're going to be sweating. There's just not a whole lot of meat on the bone there. Jeff, what about BYU? I mean, they have certainly slid down the bubble a little bit. I mentioned they probably be playing San Francisco and maybe a loser is out type of game in the WCC tourney. Do you think they can find it at this point, or have they just, they've lost too much in the inside with some of their injuries?
Yeah, I think the injuries to their bigs, they're a different team since then, right? I mean, it's almost like if you're looking at them as the committee, you've got to look at them this way. And since they lost them, they're clearly not a tournament team. So I don't know how you justify putting them in unless, again, they beat San Fran in that game and then probably give Gonzaga a hell of a game, because I don't know how they beat them. I mean, I've seen St. Mary's beat Gonzaga in the WCC tournament, but it's rare. And I don't know if this team gets beaten by this BYU team or this San Francisco team. I just think they're so far a class ahead of everybody else in this league right now, St. Mary's included. And again, I think Randy Bennett's such an elite coach. He maximizes his talent about as well as anybody in the country. But yeah, to me, BYU, listen, this could end up being a 2-bid league at the end of the day. After all, we were talking about a four-bid WCC. It could very well be, if things break the wrong way, a 2-bid league.
Yeah, and I think the reason why that is because Gonzaga is going to run the table in the league.
Right.
If Gonzaga goes 16-2 in the league, it opens up the door for that third or fourth team. If they go 18-0, it makes it tougher. But when you talk about that league and you go Mark Few, Herb Sendek, Mark Pope, Randy Bennett, Golden, that top, and the list goes on in that league. It's terrific league. Yeah. But I thought somebody had to answer the bell, in that 3, 4, 5 slot against Gonzaga to really, really lock themselves in.
Yeah, I mean, there were always jokes about maybe the ACC's one bid, but Duke's lost games, and that's helped teams get in position to make the tournament.
Now ACC's getting about 7, it looks like.
Yeah, they're stealing them from everybody else. They're going from WCC to ACC, switching coasts on us.
Man, we can't have that. We can't listen. We cannot. If the ACC gets more than 5 in, there should be a damn investigation into the selection committee. Yeah, somebody should be fired.
Yeah, I just wish at some point, though. I know we've got all these NETs and RPIs and the BPIs and quad 1 win, quad 2. At some point, that selection committee's got to sit down and watch. Hey, man, let me watch Indiana play. Let me watch San Francisco play. Let me watch Belmont play.
If it's close, right? I agree. Yeah, I agree. If
it's close,
you're going to be dealing with about 10 schools for 4 spots. And honestly, it's going to be kind of like trying to pour over the difference in resumes you can justify with the net here or quad 1 wins here or, the KPI here. You're right. At the end of the day, maybe it comes down to I saw this team and you know what? I think they can actually win a game in the tournament.
But if the net, how does the net really factor in? You wonder where, and the only reason I know this, it flipped it up on TV. Like Murray's a 27 net. They beat Belmont tonight. Maybe they move up higher.
Oh yeah.
Is that going to be equivalent to their seed? So that's my biggest thing.
It shouldn't be if you look at Providence and Wisconsin.
No, it shouldn't be. And it hasn't been. It hasn't been
right.
over the years, especially if you look at the last year, some 72, 73 net teams got in and some 42, 43 net teams got left out.
Yeah. And we may talk a little more Murray State later on after their big blowout over Belmont. Right now, we're going to get to break. When we come back, we're going to talk Illinois, Ohio State. Buckeyes have been really impressive on the road. Brad Underwood just got ejected. Got to get some takeaways for what's going wrong with the Illini. We'll be right back here on Sirius XM channel 84.
Perfect. Clear.
Sweet. All right. Some questions that Greg sent me for the chat here, guys.
All right.
Real quick. How far can Tennessee go, Jeff or Steve? Either one of you have a strong take on the Vols?
Man, I like Tennessee. I liked them. I went there in August. I sat down with Coach Barnes to get a chance to visit with him and watch his teams kind of late August, early September. Was been impressed with them, from day one. They lost a tough game at Texas. They lost a tough game in the Garden with Texas Tech, a couple tough league games, one at Kentucky, obviously. But, man, they got good guard play. They're tough. They defend. Rick Barnes is, one of the top coaches to ever coach college basketball. I think they're a second weekend team for sure.
I'll add one thing quick to that. I talked to Eric Musselman the other day, and I asked him who was the best team in the SEC, and he said Kentucky, Auburn, and Tennessee. He thought all have a chance to go deep in the NCAA tournament.
Oh, interesting. All right, from Taylor in the chat, is Malachi Branham the Big Ten Freshman of the Year? He's got 29 tonight at Illinois. Your other competitors, I guess Max Christie maybe.
No.
30. Caleb Houston. No. Yeah,
Branham.
Seems like it's Branham's.
Branham. Yeah. Branham's going to be a dude next year. A dude.
Yeah. He hasn't quite gotten the Blake Wesley from Notre Dame draft hype. So it seems like he's going to be 15. Back. And man, he is really
I saw him in the preseason, Jim, and he looked lost
10.
In practice. Crazy. He's just shows you it doesn't matter then.
5.
Yep.
Here we go.
All right, we're back here on After Dark, talking Illinois, Ohio State. I'm Jim Root, your host tonight, joined by Steve Prohm, former Iowa State coach, and Stadium insider Jeff Goodman. Guys, we got a 12-point game with 3 minutes left. Ohio State on the road, looking like they're going to get a huge win at Illinois, although Illinois just hit a 3, cut it down to 9. What do we make of this Ohio State team, Jeff? Because the 2 home games they just played, they lost home to Iowa, probably should have lost at home to Indiana. I know that was a heartbreaker for you and your daughter on commitment day to see them go down like that.
It was bullshit, and I'm still basking in the win tonight that we'll get to later in Hoosier Land.
So what do we think of the Buckeyes? Are they just kind of going to be this erratic, streaky team because of their defense is a little lacking, or is this kind of them turning over a new leaf, turning a page as we head to March?
No, I think it's still an Ohio State team that if they can get 2 wins and get to a Sweet 16, it's a hell of a year based on the fact that, and it's incredible to me. Steve Prohm has been very fortunate. He's had incredible point guards in his coaching career, dating back to Murray State and Iowa State. And it's super important. Well, Chris Holtmann, honestly, look at his point guards at Butler and what he's done at Ohio State. And you're like, how the hell has he done it? I'm the king of saying point guard play, people get sick of it, but I say it over and over and over, but I feel like it is so important. And Chris Holtmann would prove me wrong because their point guard play is never great. Yet somehow this dude finds a way to keep Ohio State in the top 20 every single year.
Yeah, it's mega impressive. Steve, you don't know this about me, but Monty Morris is my single favorite college player ever. So loved watching that guy play. There is no Monty Morris on Ohio State. So what is Chris Holtmann doing to make it work without such a maestro in the backcourt?
I think the one thing, and we played him in an NCAA tournament a couple years ago, my 4th year, we played him, and they upset us in the tournament, and it was a tempo game. I mean, we wanted to play a certain speed. I think he does a great job of really trying to implement his style and his tempo on the team into where he's going to play a certain way, a certain style. He's going to get you in the half court. They're going to run their stuff. And I think, if you're going to have solid guard play, you better have elite 3, 4s, and 5s. And he has that. Malachi, EJ Liddell, Young, Key. I mean, those 4 guys, they're legit. They can start anywhere in the country. And his guard play's been solid. He's got a freshman that's kind of growing up a little bit. He's got obviously the transfer from Penn State, Wheeler. Holtman obviously has done a phenomenal job, and they're still right there in the mix for the Big Ten title, a game out with, 2 or 3 left to go.
Down to 4.
Man,
Down to
chopping it
4.
down.
This is not over. And I'll tell you what, this place to play, like I was there earlier this year. I've been there a few times the last few years. It's out of control. You could see these fans, they're about as hungry as any fan base. Now we're down to 2. Illinois has got on this run. And that's where I talk about point guard play, Steve. This is where I talk about it right now. How can you handle this environment when you can't just put the ball in somebody's hands? And no, Malachi Branham's not that guy. He's a freshman 2 guard. Like he's not a point that you just say, hey, you know what? Give him the ball. He's going to be able to handle this atmosphere, this environment, this pressure.
Yeah, and you're going against the team that has the point guard play. Like Curbella's the high ceiling guy, and then Frazier. I mean, there's maybe no better floor leader in the Big Ten right now.
Yeah, Frazier's awesome.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah, I think you can talk Illinois. Everybody goes right to Kofi, and I've said this all season long, especially after going and spending some time up there. Williams and Frazier. I mean, Trent Frazier has a radiant personality. When I saw him in practice, he came over. He's got shoulder straps on him, and he's like, "Man, you got to figure out a way to get through practice, man, with Coach." And then I went back up there to watch them play one time. Man, hey, Coach, man, great to see you again. Just personality, infectious, leadership. Obviously he's older, and he's become a gamer. I mean, him and DeMonte, they are winners, and they compete the right way. And I think some of these other younger guys and newer guys in the program, Plummer's having a fantastic game tonight. But it's more than just Kofi. Obviously, Kofi's the alpha dog. He's the outlier. But those guys, man, they're the heart and soul. And, I mean, Tom Izzo said it both times they've played him. Trent Frazier is the heart and soul. And, the question I think the next debate's going to be, is Underwood's 2 technicals or Danny Hurley's 2 technicals? Which celebration did we like better?
Yeah, I know Nate Oates got kicked out of a game.
Both things affected their teams in a positive way.
That's what I was going to say. Nate Oates got kicked out of a game
and
recently.
Nate Oates got kicked out, and they
Prohm, how many times you get kicked out? 0, right? There's no way you've been kicked out.
I've never been kicked out.
Didn't need to inspire your team. Yeah, it's fine. You were fine.
How many tees? How many tees in your career?
Not many, but the one I'll never forget in the Charleston Classic, Teddy Valentine got me in the champ. We were playing Colorado in the championship game. This is a long time ago when I was at Murray, and he teed me up from across the floor, and I'm like, I still don't know what I did, so.
That's the best part of Teddy. We'll have to get him on the pod. We'll have to get him on the pod at some point and find out what you did.
Yeah, he won't remember that game. I'm sure that's too long. 10 years ago. But man,
I want Teddy with a panel of Steve, the Millers, just every coach lined up. They got questions for him, and he's going to have to answer.
Yeah.
We'll just bring on we'll bring on random coaches, like just guys that Teddy teed up, and just we'll see how much Teddy remembers.
But the one thing you do realize when you go back and watch tape most of the time, 8 out of 9, 9 out of 10, they did most of the time get the calls right. It's just the problem is those big moments. Yeah, you hope everything is right because it's a tough job.
Yeah, no question. So I think we had kind of geared this, looking ahead at this segment, talking about this game. This was 10 to 15 points most of the second half. Ohio State was kind of making a statement. We were wondering what's wrong with the Illini. Jeff, is there anything still you think was wrong to be down like that most of the way? And now they're kind of, riding the wave of the crowd and their experience to come back. But are you more concerned that they didn't run away from this game?
Well, okay. Kofi fouled out. I mean, he did nothing in the second half and picked up 4 fouls in the second half. So I think when you take him out of the equation, obviously they're a different team, because ultimately, even if Kofi's not scoring, even if he's in the post, every time he gets the ball in the post, to me, you have to double if you're a team like Ohio State. Like, you're not playing them straight up with Zed Key. I don't care how big and strong Zed Key is. You're not. Like, there's only how many teams in the country that can play Kofi straight up? 5, maybe, right? Maybe. So to me, again, you have Kofi in the game. It gives Frazier, Plummer. Look at what Plummer was able to do and get untracked early. He's been struggling lately from 3. They've got everything. They just, I don't know. I mean, again, I just feel like part of it is not having Curbelo and not knowing what his role is right now is kind of a little bit different for them. And EJ Liddell, who kind of comes home, he's from Illinois, hits a big shot there, and they're up. Ohio State's up 4 now. Well,
so
back to 2.
I think that's a good point about Curbelo. Like some other teams that have had the same rotation for the entire season, they're coming into the point where they're fully formed and they kind of know what they're going to be, what their identity is. Steve, did you ever run into anything like that where you had this late in the year stuff where you're trying to figure out? Shayok maybe missed a couple games that 1 year with the broken foot.
Shayok. We lost Shayok late in the year, his senior year. He was just with us 1 year, and so. But not to the point where it was really extended. We've had some guys early in the year kind of going transition from the non-conference to the conference, in that December, January, we're trying to bring guys back. But it's tough anytime you're bringing guys back. And we talked about this earlier when they're trying to bring Curbelo back. I think anytime you're trying to bring a good player back and get everything back, chemistry, I think it's always a little difficult to do that. But this Illinois team,
big thing. Well, that's the thing with this Illinois team. Like I still have aspirations that this could be a Final Four team. And the more I watch them, the more I'm like, I don't know. I mean, they could be, but they could get run out in the second round again, and it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't have
Tyson
a feel
Walker
for
went nuts on them. They have. It seems like every game there's ebbs and flows. They're not doing what say Gonzaga did with the dominant performance wire to wire. And maybe a naysayer would say, well, Gonzaga only has to get up at this degree for 1 out of every 4 or 5 games, whereas Illinois is doing it game after game. Every game in the Big Ten is a battle. Perhaps that has been part of why the consistency hasn't quite been there. But even going back to last year, they faced a really tough mid-major team in the second round, weren't able to figure it out. There were some weaknesses in ball screen coverage with Kofi in space that I think teams can still take advantage of. That's same on the other side with Ohio State, Jeff. I want to ask you real quick because last year defense seemed like the flaw. They went out in the first round to a 15 seed. They rate out basically the same as last year defensively. So is that still a concern? Are they still an upset candidate because of that?
100%. I mean, again, if you can now today, they've kind of let obviously Branham get on track here, and Liddell's been good. I feel like if there's not a third guy, and I don't know who it is, like Michi could be that guy if he gets going, but Kyle Young was good early in this game. He's tough. I mean, he's a great program role guy, lunch pail guy, but you need kind of that third guy, and they don't really have it. And that's where Justice Suing was going to be. He was going to be huge because he was going to be a fifth. Now, again, Brandon might not have done what he's done if they have Justice Suing. We don't know that. So that's the good thing for if they could have gotten Suing back. And I think at this point in the season, I think it's too late. I don't see any way Justice Suing comes back at this point.
And sometimes what happens with like what you said is it gives Branham more opportunity to play through mistakes, right, play with a little bit less pressure on him. And now, because obviously we know how good of a player he is, he can have nights like this. But I think they're 3 and 4 with Liddell and Branham and are terrific, and they give him a chance every night. You would see, do people start picking up pressure, extending pressure against Ohio State, and really put a little bit more force on their guards? But if Illinois wins this game, you got to give a lot of credit. A lot of coaches have been thrown out. I shouldn't say a lot, but a couple have. And we touched on this. I mean, the assistant coaches stepped up and really responded. The staff at Bama. I think it's Charlie Henry, Kamani Young last night. Was it last night? Kamani Young last night, with UConn. And then
2 nights ago. 2 nights ago. Feels like,
I can't remember what night it was anymore.
And then I think that's, Jeff Alexander, I believe, but it's more than them. You know what I mean? You all got to be in sync. They all, Chester Frazier, you see Tim Anderson right now, you all got to be in sync.
Is there any, real quick, any like prep for that, Steve, that you guys like, the line of succession when you're at risk of, if you're ever kicked out, like Did you have discussions with your staff about what would happen if you weren't there, or was it not a problem
I
because
think
you were always calling?
I mean, I think there's an understanding on who's going to step in and play. Coach Underwood's probably a little bit more fiery than I am. So
it was Hurley. I mean, Hurley and Underwood are probably in the locker room right now throwing shit.
Like I said,
what did you think of the Hurley? What did you think, Prohm, of the Hurley ejection? And I thought it was an ejection based on what had happened up to that point. And I thought, again, I'm not saying it was right, but I thought in that point, Breeding was like, you're showing me up.
That's the only thing I could think of, because that's the one thing that really, really bothers him.
Yep.
That's the one thing that throws it over with him. And I didn't see it at live. I think I just saw Doster's tweets about it. Yep. And then went over to the game. But I watched the last 10, 12 minutes of that game. Obviously, high-level game. I thought Villanova was in control to win the game. RJ Cole, big time charge with a second to go. But when I saw the replay of it and Danny went to the crowd, obviously you're not going to get a technical for that. I think Breeding probably thought, hey, he's trying to show me up right.
Exactly.
That's my thought process.
Me too.
But, Danny turned away, though. He turned away and was doing his own thing. So obviously tough call, but to credit that staff and those kids, they responded. That's a heck of a win for them.
Yep. Better way to handle it. Right down to 1 point game here. I think we're going to hit to break real quick while this game finishes up. When we come back, we will talk about what the end result of Illinois-Ohio State was. We're going to get into the Goodman family school, Indiana, whether they're back, whether Memphis is back, both strong performances from bubble teams.
Indiana's back, Jim. What do you mean whether they're back? Indiana is back.
No, we don't want to know yet. I want to know on the other side of the break if they're back, Jeff. That's when you tell me. We'll hit to break real quick. We'll be right back with that here on Sirius Channel 84.
You're clear.
Sweet. All right. Couple of questions from the chat. Oh, I like this one for you, Steve. Can Murray make the Final Four?
I don't, I love Matt, obviously he's my former assistant, a good friend of mine. I think they do. Watching them tonight, and I've seen them a couple times in person, I've been down to practice a couple times. I do think they definitely can get to the second weekend. I do think they have a chance to get to the second weekend. I'll say that. I would rather them be in that 7-10 game, hopefully get a 7 seed or a 10 seed rather than that 8-9 game. So you're not going against number one in the second round to get to the Sweet 16. I just think, it's kind of better matchups when you look at it that way. From that standpoint, I do think they have capabilities to get to the second round because I think they have 3 legit scorers. They really defend, and they're very, very efficient on both ends of the floor.
Yeah, I like the comparison to 2019 Wofford that was a 7 seed, gave Kentucky everything they could handle in the second round. That's what Murray's capable of to me. Yeah. Jeff, I'm curious here for you from Todd. More likely, Gonzaga wins the national title or they're eliminated before the Elite Eight. So losing the Sweet 16 or win the whole thing.
I mean, they're the favorite to win the whole thing. So I would say more likely to win the whole thing or get to the Final Four than lose prior to that. I just think, again, they're put together. Their pieces fit together so
10 seconds.
Well. Yeah. And then the last question is, can Providence make a Sweet 16? Of course they can.
5 seconds.
Sure. They're going to be like a 4 seed. They're going to have a good draw for it.
Yeah.
Prohm with me here, watching the ending of Ohio State, Illinois. Illinois is down 3. Look like they're going to have a chance to potentially tie. I think my feed is behind your guys in the live feed. So if something crazy is happening, please jump in and stop me or I'll sound like an idiot.
All right, here we go. Frazier from half court. And he misses. And Ohio State with a huge road win in Champaign. And we know the Illinois fans won't be quite as vocal on Twitter as they usually are right now.
Frazier just missed the half quarter for me, so I'm glad we have somebody with a better cable feed getting things.
You need to pay. You need to pay your bill.
I got to find somebody to talk to about that.
You're in Vegas. Yeah. You're way out in Vegas. Where are you? In like like Henderson or something?
Southwest Summerlin, South Summerlin area. So they don't want the bettors to know what's happening early. They want to delay the information. It makes sense. They're preventing the live betting. All right, Jeff, we hinted at it earlier. We teased it. We got to talk Indiana. The Goodman family school now. There's true allegiance. You're wearing your Indiana hat. Somehow not wearing an Indiana dad shirt yet. That's the disappointment.
I got to
we'll get there. Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Listen, I'm looking. Well, I'm already looking at the tuition bill, so I don't need to buy anything else right now. I'm already scared when I look at the tuition, of what I'm going to end up having to pay for the next 4 years.
The IU dad shirts don't come with the tuition rebate. They should. That should be priced into that.
Nothing.
No. All right, but hey, they had a real big win. They took care of business tonight at home, extended late against Maryland. Do we feel like this was the performance they needed? They got an awesome game from Xavier Johnson. I think the point guard questions have been lingering with them. Was that sustainable with Xavier Johnson? Is that more of like hype home spot? He plays well. He's just erratic.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem, right? That point guard play and guard play for them is a problem. You kind of know what you're going to get out of, like, Race Thompson's awesome.
And how about his development?
He's awesome. Love him. And Trace is good. Sometimes they don't get him the ball, again, because their guard play isn't good enough. But X was really good tonight. Didn't miss a shot from the field. Passed the ball well. Took care of the ball. Now, again, not a huge win. I said it was a huge win on Twitter, and it's a huge win because it's not a loss. Like that, honestly, that's what it comes. Sometimes, Steve, right? That's the case. Question. Like, you're coming down the stretch, and it's not like it's a big win at home against Maryland. It's one you
just can't lose.
Can't lose it.
Just can't lose it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, that's one you got to have, and then kind of, I don't know if the next one falls in the same category.
I think on the next one, you just can't lose it
at Minnesota.
Yep.
Yeah, they lost 5 in a row. Yeah, right. You just at some point you just want to see the W go up in the column, no matter how ugly or pretty it is. It's nice to get one up there. Steve, with this Hoosier team, they're lurking right around the bubble. I think the losing streak I just mentioned has brought them back down towards bubble territory. But if they get some wins down the stretch here, they're going to get a nice chance with Rutgers at home. I don't know if they can get Purdue again. I don't know if they can sweep them twice in the season, but do you feel like this team has the ability to be a threat in the NCAA tournament? They're kind of a little like Ohio State, where their 3-4-5 is great, but maybe not as strong in the backcourt.
Yeah, I think they're kind of that first weekend team to where I think they'll be excited if they get a bid to the NCAA tournament. I think they'll be thrilled and excited, and then just continue. Michael continue to just set his foundation, that he wants there. But I think they'll be thrilled to get in, from that standpoint. They're 1-5 in their last 6, 3-6 in their last 9. It's like Jeff said, man, they had to win this one, and it's Maryland, so it doesn't move the needle. And the at Minnesota game will be a road win. If they can get that probably won't need to move the needle. They got 2 opportunities to move the needle. Rutgers at home, Purdue on the road. If they can split those, I think they go to the Big Ten tournament, try to win one there, and then hopefully they probably think they're in then.
Yep. Hey, Jim, what's your advice for me here? I have such a difficult time now because, as you guys know, I'm honest to a fault. I can't not say what I believe, but with Indiana, I'm in a tough spot here because I've already pissed off the fan base. They don't like me because I said that, number one, they weren't going to get Brad Stevens, which they weren't, obviously. Number 2 was I didn't like the Mike Woodson hire because he's a former NBA guy. And as I pointed out in a column 2 weeks ago, most of these guys, and the latest is Lindsey Hunter. Did you see that today? He was put on administrative leave. Oh, so wow. There's the latest NBA guy that's failing. I just what do I do? Do I just have to abandon my whole philosophy here and just be nice to Indiana no matter what?
You got to get a burner, or you got to get Rob Douster to give you his login info, and you tweet all the bad stuff from Rob Douster's account. Anything you got to say negative about Indiana, you just go that way.
That's a good idea.
I mean, I think one of the best things about being in the media and for people like you is the honesty and it's the sincerity. People know they're going to get that. So it's going to be tricky. It's probably going to be a fine line you're going to have to walk, but hopefully, and I was a college kid more recently than you guys. Hopefully the other college kids are normal enough to know that Talia doesn't share every opinion that her father does. So
I'll give you a good story. I'll give you a good story. So she commits, chooses Indiana 2 days ago, and she's all into it now. So she's listening to Indiana podcasts. She's watching every sport, whatever. So she's driving home while listening to an Indiana podcast. I don't remember the name of it right now. The other day, and they're talking about me and killing me on it. Basically saying, like, if we have Jeff Goodman on here, I will, I don't like him. I can't be nice to him, blah, blah, blah. And then they mentioned Talia a little bit, and like in a vague way. So luckily I reached out to somebody who knew them, and they were kidding. They were having some fun with it. And hopefully I'm going to be on that podcast at some point, but I felt so bad. Like, she comes home, and again, I don't care what anybody says. And she's heard enough bad things about me, but not with regard to the school she's going to go to. So It was like, what do I do here? Like, I can't put her in that spot as a dad to where she's nervous about going to school there, and she wants to get into sports media.
Yeah, it's tricky. That's certainly not a place I have advice for. Not having kids makes me a little bit of a weak advice point there, unfortunately. Steve, I want to pivot quick because we've got another bubble team potentially getting a huge win here. Oregon on ESPN, up 6, 45 seconds to go, might sweep UCLA. Ducks have been struggling lately, took a couple big losses to Arizona State and Cal. How important is this one for them, both from getting in, the bubble perspective, and a mindset going into USC on Saturday and going into the Pac-12 tournament, knowing that they still have this gear to them? How important is this?
Man, this was huge. I thought, kind of like we were talking about, opportunities present themselves, and you got to take advantage of it. And I think Oregon did that today. 1-3 in their last 4. I thought they had to get this one today. And they got this, and that sets up what it does. And now it makes the Southern Cal game on Saturday a huge game for them. And so that if they can get that, then I think Oregon starts feeling really good. They go on the trip to finish the year. They go to the Washington State to finish. And then, Dana Altman, he loves the Pac-12 tournament, and he'll go run the table that, and
don't
take
bet
care of
against
business.
them.
Yeah, don't bet against them in that Pac-12 tournament. He's phenomenal. But I think this was huge. They had a great opportunity tonight. They answered the bell, and that really pushes them forward towards the tournament.
Jeff, any concerns about UCLA getting swept by a team like Oregon, or are we kind of like, hey, this is who UCLA is? Juzang had injury issues tonight. Don't want to discount them too much. Are you taking anything away from this for the Bruins?
Yeah, he didn't play. Tiger came back. Like, Jaquez still isn't healthy. I don't know. I mean, I feel like UCLA kind of is what maybe we thought. Like, we kind of overrated him. Again, we overrated him based on a 4-game run that might not have been quite indicative of who they were last season. In fact, it wasn't completely indicative. They got hot at the right time. They could have lost. I mean, I was there for the game against Michigan State in the first 4.
That's also down at halftime, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I don't know. They're a good team. I think we put them in that elite upper echelon, and I'm not sure they're justified with that. I think if they're completely whole, they can beat most teams, but I'm not sure they can beat those elite teams, even when they're whole, even when they're playing their best. I'm not sure they're better than, the Kentuckys, the Gonzagas. I mean, again, even like Arizona, like, I know they beat them there, but I feel like Arizona is a better basketball team than UCLA is.
Yep. Yeah, we saw that rematch together in Tucson, and Arizona got up double digits in that one. Jaquez was kind of playing on barely half a foot at that point.
So was Tubelis, though. I mean, they were both banged up.
Yep. And I think that's, part of last year. The run was a lot of things broke well. And this year, if they're not going to be as healthy, and they're maybe not going to shoot as well, and opponents aren't going to shoot as poorly, then, it's going to be a little bit more of a struggle for them. But definitely a big win for the Ducks. Memphis also got a big win here.
If they finish it, it's not over, right?
Up 8, 20 seconds. Yeah.
Now up 5 with 14 seconds, but it looks like it's over.
That's it.
Yeah, it looks like it's over at this point. It'd be hard to imagine.
Yep. So the big one for the Ducks. We'll change our tune if a miracle happens here. But Memphis is also picked up a big win today. Maybe we
It was a
hit
good
them
day
real
for
quick.
bubble game, right? A good day for bubble teams for the most part.
Yep.
Indiana, Oregon, Memphis.
Yeah, poor Belmont, I think, fell by the wayside tonight because Steve's Racers took care of business in that one.
And you look at Indiana though. If they can go 2-1 down the stretch, they go finish 10-10 in the Big Ten. I just think it'd be hard pressed to not take them. Right. You go 10-10 in the Big Ten and you don't get in. I'd be surprised.
I think you're right. I think they've got to win. Here's what they got to do. Probably they got to win these next two. And who cares about Purdue? And you could even lose in the first round of the Big Ten tournament because you're going to play in the first round. You're probably going to play Michigan, Michigan State, or Iowa. So you're going to play a tournament team most likely. Michigan, I know, is on the bubble, but I think Michigan probably plays their way in now. We'll see. So if you lose one of those two, these next two games, then to Minnesota or Rutgers, then I think you have to win that game in your first game of the Big Ten tournament. How about Oregon? A lot of crowd court storming going on.
Yeah.
A lot of it this time.
They're having fun. The kids are having fun. All right, let's take one more break here. When we come back, might talk a little bit of Memphis, but we're definitely going to look ahead to the weekend slate. We're going to make Jeff and Steve call their shot on a game or two coming up for the weekend. So stay with us here on SiriusXM 84. We'll be right back. Sweet. All right. A couple other questions from the chat here. I didn't see this play, but somebody asked, I don't know if either of you guys saw it closely. Was there a foul on Trent Frazier on the drive at the very end of that Illinois game?
I didn't see it. I mean, I saw the play. I didn't see a replay of it, but it looked like he drove and kicked and kind of kicked to nobody. But again, we were in the middle of the show, so it was hard to get a really good look at it, to be honest. But it seemed kind of a strange play design.
Steve, you coached against Fran McCaffrey for years. Is Iowa this year a sleeper in the tournament because of that offense and everything they've got going with Keegan Murray?
Well, they're playing really well, and credit Fran. Obviously, lost a lot of pieces from last year's team, but to their credit, he's had a lot of guys, starting with the Murray brothers, that have really stepped up and had great years. They can really score, and so that's going to give them an opportunity.
Yep. All right, Jeff, I want to see what you do with this one. From Tom, what's more likely? Providence wins a national title or Georgetown wins a Big East game?
What does Georgetown have left? I mean, Providence can't win a national title. How's that? Okay. All right. So I'll say Georgetown wins a Big East game, even though they just lost to DePaul. So the chances aren't good there either.
It's getting pretty slim. Yeah, I'm trying to find out what the schedule for them still is. Home UConn, 15. At Seton Hall, at Xavier. That feels like 3 losses, unfortunately.
Yeah, but Providence ain't winning the national title. So I'll still take Georgetown.
Okay. All right.
5 seconds.
All right. We'll get back to it here.
Here we go.
All right, we're back here on the Field of 68 After Dark, joined by Steve Prohm, Stadium's Jeff Goodman. I'm Jim Root, your host. Talked a little about some bubble teams, guys. I want a quick mention, just because it'd be a shame not to, with Steve here, having coached at Murray State. The Racers, they swept Belmont tonight, completed that sweep, blew them out, really, just completely made that not a game at all. Racers look like a fairly safe bet to be in the NCAA tournament with what they did in the non-conference. We talked about it a little one of the breaks, Steve, but I want to get more of an extended take here. What do you think the ceiling is for Murray State, and how cool is it for a town like that supports the school the way it does to have a team that's this good this year?
Well, it's phenomenal, and really happy for Matt, former assistant of mine. Happy for the community, the town. Obviously, we got a lot of relationships and connections there, and spent a lot of time there and there now, or in the area. But you could see, if you watch the game tonight, I mean, they probably had 8,000 people in there. Terrific atmosphere. They've won 17 games in a row. The one thing that, the team's just starting to come on everybody's radar a little bit these last couple of weeks. Finally have gotten their AP ranking, top 25 coaches poll ranking. They've moved into top 20. They've had star power there in the past with Cannon and Cameron Payne and John Morant. This team does it a little bit differently. They just collectively are really, really good. They're fundamentally sound on both ends of floor. I think Matt's a phenomenal coach. They're efficient offensively. They're tough on defense. They had 3 guys score 30 points in wins this year. Juice Hill, the point guard, Tevin Brown, the wing, KJ Williams, the big kid in the middle. They're older. Juice Hill's, a junior college transfer, been in the program 2 years. Tevin Brown, KJ, they've won tournament games. They played with Jaws, great run that they had a couple years back. I think they legitimately, if they can get the right seeding and the right matchups, I really believe this team can get through the first weekend and be the first Murray State team to get to the Sweet 16, and obviously really pulling for them.
Yep, they are fully capable. I'm impressed every time I watch them. They can win in multiple ways. Like they can go get hot from the outside, but they can also D you up. They really did that tonight against Belmont.
I mean, they've beaten Chattanooga, at home. They won at Memphis. They beat Belmont. And Belmont, I mean, you look at some of Belmont's wins. Belmont beat Chattanooga. Belmont beat St. Louis. They beat Iona. They beat Furman.
Pounded Belmont twice.
And they have beat Belmont 20 on the road and 30 at home. Right. And it's because Matt's team is balanced. I think guys understand their roles at a high level. And Trey Hannibal, Collins, the transfer from Davidson, Burns, those guys understand your energy guys, your toughness guys, you're the glue guys. And then KJ, Tevin, and Juice, do obviously a lot of the scoring and facilitating. But it's a phenomenal team that's really bought in. You don't win 17 games in a row and have a chance to be the 6th team in the history of the league, in an 80-year league, to go undefeated and not be legit.
Yeah, hey, Steve, why is Murray such a good, again, you look through the coaches that have come there and everybody's won and moved on. And Matt's going to be next. We know that. Matt should get a high major job this year. And I think
no question.
What makes Murray, some of these mids are just built to win, a lot of them. And it's, is the fan support, is it the reason? What is it at Murray State?
Man, they came one year. They came and said, "What's in the water in Murray, Kentucky?" And it's true. It's they're 2 hours from Nashville, from the airport. You speed to get recruits to campus. Because you don't want them in the car that long. You throw them an iPad. Hey, watch the iPad, and we'll be there in a little bit. I think it's obviously there's been really good players come through there. I mean, really good players, obviously, very good coaches and coaching staffs, but the community is entrenched in that program. You can have good teams at the mid-major level, but do they show up with 8,000? Right. Do they show up with 8,500? Yep. And consistently do that when you have legit teams? That doesn't happen. I just think the tradition is phenomenal. I think the fan support is terrific. And there is, when you put that Murray State jersey on, I think there has a uniqueness about it that's different. Now, transitioning into the Valley will be different. I think, the record, their record against Valley opponents has been really good over the last decade, but playing a conference schedule week in, week out is different than playing teams in a non-conference. And so there'll be an adjustment period. But that program,
the bottom of the OVC. The bottom of the OVC isn't nearly
that's what hurts
you,
because every game in the Valley, you can't circle one. Right. Sometimes you may be able to circle some in the Ohio Valley. I can circle here, circle there. You can't do that in the Missouri Valley. So that'll be the biggest change. But the elite teams that Murray's had over the last decade and beyond can without question compete and hold their own and compete for championships in that league. And but Matt, the job he's done, this is, really 4 of the last 5 years, they've won the conference championship, and 3 of the last 4 years, they're going to be in the 3 out of the last 5, they're going to be in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I've just been, like I said, impressed every time I turn them on and watch them. I'm like, this doesn't feel like an Ohio Valley team. They feel like a team that's going to play with whoever they get matched up with in March, because
but all those good teams that they've had there, they've been able to win out of conference. They've beaten high majors. They've won in the tournament.
Too. You've all had good guards.
And they've had legit guards.
Yes.
I mean, how many programs in the country, just think about this, and we don't have to talk about them forever here, but you go NBA point guard to NBA point guard to NBA point guard, and 2 of them are lottery picks.
Yeah, that's
hard to do.
You can't
but
say
what
that
it
about
does,
like any school, much less Murray State.
That's what I'm saying is what school can say that?
Yeah.
And then what it does, though, it sets it up for guys like Tevin Brown that he's going to get opportunities now.
Right.
KJ is going to get opportunities.
He's not transferring out of there where he could have after last year.
Yeah, KJ is going to get opportunities to play at the next level.
Yep.
Shaq Buchanan that's played on Morant's team. He's had a 10-day now with Memphis. But if you look at the league, Belmont's had pros, Ian Clark, Dylan Windler, SEMO's had some pros. Tennessee State, we beat Robert Covington in the championship game one year. Yeah. The league has been at the top, like I said, the top half of that league, they've had pros here in this last decade. It's been very competitive at the top.
Yep. All right, we're getting low on time, Jeff. I want to ask you about one more team that played well tonight. Actually looked really good. Memphis. They've been definitely a hot button team throughout the year. Looked pretty good after the SMU loss. I was worried maybe they'd let down a little bit because they had gotten the air taken out of their balloon. But do we think if they can get even to Dayton, is that the kind of team that can make a run out of there?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't have confidence that they can put anything together and keep it. Like, I know in the AAC, I know Steve's laughing at me, but
no.
But you're beating like Tulsa, ECU, listen, I love Ron Hunter, but come on, Temple tonight, who have you beaten? You beat Houston without their two best players. You haven't really beaten a big time team all year. Again, people will say Houston. This is a different Houston team than the one that almost beat, Alabama and came out of the gates well. I don't know. I don't think the point guard plays good enough. I know people are going to try to say, well, without Amani, they're better. I just don't have confidence.
Yeah, I think it's more with DeAndre Williams. They're better. I know the Amani Bates is part of it, but those guys haven't played together since November. It's been alternating in and out of the lineup. So every time you say they're better without Amani, you're also saying they're better with Williams. It was the same story last year. Williams down the stretch was kind of what made the difference.
Yeah. Well, Williams was good tonight. Jalen Duren was good tonight. Yeah. Landers Nollies has played better, but you wanted to see him go to SMU and play really well and possibly win that game. I mean, that's what I think we all needed to see.
Yeah.
Smacked.
Sure.
Now they have another opportunity. They got to get Houston at home. And then they got to make a really deep run, I think, in the American Conference tournament.
They can win it, though. They should win that conference tournament.
Yep.
They should. If they don't win it, honestly, I'm disappointed in.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, Houston, it can't be Houston's tournament when they're so shorthanded and they probably just want to focus on the NCAA tournament. This should be an event where Memphis is back against their wall.
Does this all align, by the way, with the departure of Rasheed Wallace, by the way?
Oh, it might.
I know. I don't want Big Sheet coming after me or anything, but I'm just saying. Listen,
it's a heck of a way to close this show, Jeff. You're going to call out Rasheed Wallace like that. I hope he's not tuned in right now. That is trouble in paradise for After Dark, if that's the case. But all right, thank you everybody for tuning in. Sirius Channel 84. We're heading over to Afters now. See you tomorrow night.
And you're clear.
Awesome.
All right.
All right. Greg, do you join now? What other questions do we have here? Oh, I guess we didn't get to it during the actual show, but I want to make you guys call your shot on at least one game this weekend. There's a bunch of big ones on Saturday: Kansas, Baylor, Kentucky, Arkansas, Auburn, Tennessee, Gonzaga, St. Mary's. Is there any one of those games where you feel super strongly that one team's going to get a big win there? And maybe it's Gonzaga over St. Mary's, but does Baylor get revenge on Kansas? What do you think, Jeff? Any of those games jump out?
I mean, listen, the only thing I'll say is I know Arkansas fans are not huge fans of mine, but Mama Hogg, we still got it. We haven't heard from her in a while. I hope she's okay. I'm starting to worry a little bit right now, but I will say this: Kentucky, Arkansas, Severe Wheeler and Ty haven't played the last couple of games. So that leads me to believe that even if they play, they're not going to be 100%. That environment, that atmosphere is probably going to be as good as anything that was not Chris Beard coming back to Lubbock. So I will take JD Notte and the Arkansas Razorbacks to beat the Kentucky Wildcats in that game. And I feel pretty good about it.
I like it, especially if Wheeler and Washington are still out. That is tough. Steve, what about you? We got, like I said, Baylor, Kansas, Tennessee, Auburn. What do you think?
I like Arkansas to beat Kentucky too, but if I got to go another game, I'll go. I think Tennessee, and I love Auburn. I've been a big fan of Auburn all year, but I like Tennessee at home to beat them. And if we had to talk another game, I've seen it too many times. Kansas go down and win a big game, and I think Kansas.
Baylor's not healthy.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's
Baylor's not healthy.
That's why I said I think Kansas right now. I think they've got an opportunity to go in there and beat Baylor too. But if I'm picking one, I got Tennessee beating Auburn.
Yeah. So Tennessee, I don't think has lost a single game at home this year. Auburn's definitely not been the same on the road. Do we think any less of either of them in the tournament because they've clearly, benefited from their home crowds, or is it just that they've still been at least good enough away from there that you feel comfortable with them?
It's Tennessee defends it and it got toughness. So I'll take them a lot of places. But if you've never been over there to Tennessee, you talk about facilities and environment off the charts. It is big time.
Yeah, I almost feel like it's too big. The building there is so big that I don't know if it has. I kind of say that about Rupp too. I can't wait. I'm going down next week for K's final game. It'll be the first game that I've been there this year at home. But what makes it such a great atmosphere is it's small. And it's why I like Texas and Baylor. Now, again, they can't draw. Texas and Baylor can't draw like that. But sometimes it's better to have a 8, 10, 12,000 arena than 18 that's not full.
Yeah. I argue all the time, and it just like Murray, right? You had 8,000 in a night, but just make it 5,000 and make it the toughest ticket in town.
Yes, exactly.
But could the basketball gods not set it up any better than Duke can win the outright ACC championship for the first time in 10 years, right? 10, 11, 12 years.
12 years.
12 years against their arch rival, North Carolina, in Coach K's last game in Cameron.
I know.
Are we sure there's not script writers doing this season?
Crazy.
It's perfect.
Yeah. Oh, it's
you
incredible.
can't get better than that.
No. And tickets are going. Tickets, I looked yesterday. A buddy of mine asked me, he's like, can you get me in? I'm like, I'll look at how much tickets are. I can't get you in. Because it's out there like $80,000. I'm like, no. It's like $3,500 to get in the building, and there's not many bad seats at Cameron. Like it's not big enough for there to be bad seats. So $3,500 right now to get in the door.
What all have you heard? What will it all be like? I mean,
no idea. I don't know. I'm debating. And I'm a little too old for this. And I know I went into a tent at Texas Tech for a little while to do a podcast, but I've debated about this for years, whether to sleep in a tent. And I don't know. Like I feel like it's almost like creepy if I try to do this. Am I wrong?
No, maybe that's a bring Talia for like a big time road trip, and then you're kind of among the people, getting the sense for the crowd. That'd be awesome. I've never been to Cameron, and I can't imagine a better environment than that's going to be.
And sleep in Shesheskyville, you ought to do that. That's
bring my own tent. Should I just pitch my own tent? I could never pitch a tent. It would take me like 10 hours to figure out how to pitch a tent.
Some of these are like pop up. They do it themselves now, Jeff. The tents design themselves.
You don't have to stick, the big stick in them.
Yeah, there's a little bit of the labor. I think even you could figure it out. You
give me a lot of credit there, Jim. I don't know.
That'd be a great boots on the ground, though. I mean, the stuff out of Lubbock was great when you were talking to all the fans there, and I don't think it'd be creepy. I think it'd be kind of like, look at this. He's a man.
Maybe I'll tweet it out. Maybe I'll tweet something out and get some people to reach out like that are in tents already, like in I'm going out a week from today. Yeah. A week from today. So maybe I'll just, tweet something out then and see what the options are for me. And I'll bring all the beer. I mean, I'll bring the booze as long as they're 21. I'll stock them up.
Yeah. All right. I got a couple questions from the chat that are too good not to get to. Jeff, we were down in Tucson. You got the headband from Kirk Kriisa.
Yeah.
Arizona's up 20 at half right now. Kriisa is 7 for 8 from deep. Is this kind of like the Xavier Johnson thing where he's going to have games like this, but we don't trust him to be consistent? Or are you maybe on board?
What did you say he was from deep?
7 for 8 from deep in the first half.
Man, I wish the game was earlier. We get Kerr on tonight. This is disappointing. I mean,
I'm sure he'd have some things to say. He
Kerr will
does.
probably come on at any time. That's the great part about Kerr. He'll probably come on.
I tell you what, Arizona's good, man.
Oh man, they're incredible.
They're kind of now making me believers, because I've kind of said all year I don't think they're a team that can win this whole thing, and I'm slowly starting to change my mind, because if, again, I've said it, like, Kerr is the key for me. He's the key, because you know what you're getting out of Tubelis. Now, Mathurin can be a little up and down sometimes too. We saw it, Jim. Like, he can pull a disappearing act at times, but they've got enough other dudes. Dalen Terry was awesome, and he's been really, really good. And you can run your stuff through him a little bit, so you're not completely dependent on Kerr. But I still feel like Kerr is the key. And if he plays like he is tonight, man, watch out.
Yeah, that's what raises the ceiling if they get the point guard play.
Right.
Steve, there's another game asked about in the chat. I want to see if you have an opinion on Purdue at Michigan State this weekend. Purdue still in the front or the lead seat for a potential 1 seed in the Big Ten Conference tournament. Michigan State definitely reeling right now. Is this kind of a game where suddenly Spartans turn around and we're like, oh, okay, there's the Tom Izzo magic coming back around? Or do you feel like it's more they're a little broken and Purdue's just too good?
Well, Purdue's not probably the team you want to try to get right against. I would say that, but it's a huge game for Purdue, obviously, for regular season conference championships implications. And then Michigan State needs it to get going. And so tough place to play. But I probably think Purdue goes in there and wins that game.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I look at it. I just don't want to try to figure out the game Michigan State suddenly plays well. But who knows? We'll see. Jeff, a couple questions about the coaching carousel. People want some scoops from you. Is Enfield to Maryland a lock?
No.
Okay. Alternately, which SEC jobs are opening? You feel free to talk on either one of those.
Yeah. So Enfield, I still don't know if Enfield. Here's what I think will happen with Enfield. I think if USC really steps to the plate and pays him, he'll stay. Like, why would you want to leave the beach in California? Like, and you got no pressure there. You've done a hell of a job there. So I don't think he goes to Maryland unless USC does not step up and Maryland gives him significantly more money. That's one. SEC is going to be the most active of the power leagues.
What about my school? What about my school, Jeff? Is Mizzou opening?
I think it is. I think Mizzou's going to open. Georgia, South Carolina, Missouri, Mississippi State, and Ole Miss could all open. And like Florida, who knows? I mean, listen, I don't think something happens there, but you hear some rumblings. Mike White played at Ole Miss, so if that opens, would he have some interest in going? I hate to play the speculation game here, but we do it. And I know Steve's going to kill me here for it because it sucks. But and Steve, you stay out of this completely. Obviously,
yeah, I'm just listening.
I know you are. And
get distracted by something.
It's tough, but I think Crean now South Carolina's come on strong lately. So if they win their last 3. Could Frank Martin, save his job with Ray Tanner? Maybe. Ben Howland, I had higher expectations for that team. They did well. I thought they did well in the portal, and they've really underachieved for my liking. Konzo, unbelievable man. Like, I wish him better than they've fared. But I think at Missouri, you went there. You have higher expectations than this. You can't continue to be at Missouri, winning 4 games in the league.
Yeah, the peak with the most experienced team he had was 9 seed first round exit. That's kind of like, if that's what everything crests to, that's when I think people got a little bit disheartened.
Yep.
All right.
And Kermit's gone to 1 tournament in 4 years now, and they're really struggling this year. So I don't, again, SEC's kind of the league. They had no changes last year. So kind of you kind of look at it that way. All these there were a ton of movement last year. Now, if you look at the carousel, the one thing I'll say is a lot of the elite level jobs turned over last year. Like Carolina turned over, Duke turned over, Arizona turned over, UCLA's turned over lately. There's some thought that, again, Kenny Payne's the front runner at Louisville right now. Mick Cronin's name's been mentioned a little bit. I don't think he leaves for Louisville. Again, why would you leave the beach? And as long, to me, and Steve, you can speak to this. This is the part I'll make you speak on, is how important administration is for guys in terms of staying, that even if there might be a job that's a little bit better or look a little bit better to us, if you get along great with your administration and they step up, why would you leave?
No question. Yeah, I agree 100%. And I think especially the way you see things going now, I think that's probably more true and important than ever now. And so if you have that relationship with your administration and the support, man, it's going to be extremely hard to leave.
Yeah. One other question in the chat about a team, and Jeff, I think like maybe the first time I was on After Dark, we were doing like a kind of a sleeper dark horse team we were liking. You said Xavier and I said Marquette. Both teams kind of went up from there, and then maybe sinking back a little bit. Steve, how do you feel about Marquette right now? I mean, maybe they've fallen off the radar a little bit. They just haven't had they haven't beaten Villanova recently. They were doing that like it was their job earlier. But what do you think of the Golden Eagles now?
Man, I like Marquette. I think Shaka's kind of found himself again, going up there to Milwaukee and being at a basketball school.
Yeah.
I mean, just say what it is. It's a basketball school in a phenomenal league. And, he looks at peace, coaching his team and playing extremely hard, playing unselfish. They play in a phenomenal league. And so you're going to have ebbs and flows where you're going to win a couple, lose a couple. You look at every game that they've lost, though, extremely competitive. Creighton's game came down to that, Alex O'Connell hits a three in Milwaukee. They're up 4 with about 2 or 3 to go in Omaha the other day. Connecticut, they played in 2 really close games. They lost to Providence in a tough one over there. But I think they're a team that can get to the Sweet 16. I think for sure. I mean, they've got great size, body, good guard play, and they got great toughness. And so I've been really impressed with them.
Yep. I think we were just talking about like the coach fits and stay if you're comfortable and find that fit and lock it in. It seems like that's going to be a great one.
Yeah, he looks, you could see, I was on a Zoom. They do a coaching clinic. I jumped on there and you could see it, man. I just was like, man, this is great for him. And he feels at home and at peace, and he'll do extremely well there.
Yep. I think that hits all the questions that we've gotten so far. Do we want to go straight to 3 cheers, Jeff? Are you ready for that?
Yeah, I've had a long day, so I'm
Why? What happened? What'd you do today?
I'm about ready, man. Last night I was on the shitter pretty much the whole night preparing for the colonoscopy, the first one. So the actual procedure, Steve, have you had one?
Several.
Several. You've had several.
Well, I mean, I should say several. I've had a couple. I've had.
You have?
Yeah.
It was like I was a little nervous, and not everybody said the procedure is not that bad, which it really isn't. You go in, you're knocked out, you wake up.
The prep is the killer.
Man, I mean, it's like you start. I took like 4 laxatives at like 4. You can't eat anything solid the whole day, Jim.
Yeah.
So, and then at 4 o'clock, popping 4 laxatives. That took me maybe an hour to kick in, and I was sprinting.
Yeah. Did you have to drink? Did you have to drink the whole pitcher?
Yeah. But the drink was a Gatorade Miralax combo. So it wasn't as bad as I guess my wife did it.
Yeah. Years ago, last time I did it, it was been a long time, but man, the drink is torture.
I heard this wasn't that bad. It didn't taste that bad. The problem was, the first one was at 7 o'clock at night. And then the second one, you have to do 5 hours before you arrive. So that was for me, 3 o'clock in the morning. So I had to set the alarm, get up at 3, do it every 15 minutes. You have to take 8 ounces of this. So I'm up from 3 to 4, and then you're waiting for it to kick in again. So you're not trying to go to sleep. You're hoping it kicks in, and you got to make your toilet runs so that you come back and go to sleep. It's just, yeah, it screwed me up pretty good. So, and then my dumbass had chicken parm for dinner, and the whole
Where'd you
show
go for that at? Or
I can't believe you haven't heard my stomach grumbling the whole show.
No, haven't.
And it's not grumbling to eat more. It's
the microphone's done the right job filtering the correct noises.
Yeah, bland food is usually the best thing off.
I know. I'm stupid. You know what? I got the thing. Literally, I got out of the hospital, and the first thing I did, you can't drive. They tell you can't drive the whole day. So my wife picked me up. I said, "All right, let's go Dunkin' Donuts. I need some iced coffee." Right away.
This is what people come to After Dark for. This is what they want. The After Dark afters. So this is it. All right,
you get advice on colonoscopies. I mean, this is big for anybody listening. Again, don't worry about the procedure. And my advice to you, I don't even know what I give you advice for the prep. I mean, you're kind of screwed on the prep. There's not much you can do.
Got to grit your teeth and bear it.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, let's raise a drink that's better than Gatorade Miralax and have something a little more tasty here. Steve, we'll go to you first for your 3 cheers. Who are you raising a glass to tonight?
Gonzaga, the Jackrabbits of South Dakota State, and the Murray State Racers. The last 3 teams undefeated in their conference, all 1 game away from running the table on Saturday. Very impressive feat by all 3 teams, and wishing them good luck on Saturday.
Cheers to them. Racers, Jackrabbits, and Bulldogs.
You're not going to drink the Miralax, huh?
I got a Fanta. Like a little Fanta. It's like a mini Fanta.
Even when he's not here, he's here.
A mini
John Fanta's
Fanta.
Present. Yeah.
That's just like that doesn't make sense. A mini Fanta.
All right, Jeff, what do you got?
I was going to go South Dakota State, but Steve stole every team that played.
So was I. So. I was going to go Jackrabbits too. They were going to get all 3 cheers.
I will instead go Malachi Branham from Ohio State. He was phenomenal. To get a road win in that atmosphere is elite level. So I will go Malachi, Chris Holtman, EJ Liddell playing hurt with a flu and having a pretty good game back home. That's a hell of a win for Ohio State.
Yep. And keeps them in contention.
It does.
All right. For my cheers, I will go to the Ducks. We talked about them. We talked about Oregon, but maybe this is the start of the charge. Steve, you said it. Don't bet against that team in Vegas because they love the Pac-12 tournament. So impressive performance. I know UCLA was banged up, but you still got to get the win. You still got to take care of business, and the Ducks did that. So to Oregon, cheers.
And I'd be surprised if they don't beat Southern Cal Saturday.
Can you quack like a duck, Jim, before we go off?
Quack,
at least?
Quack. Quack.
Very nice.
Quack.
Very nice.
Happy to do it.
I like it.
Happy to
I like it.
All right. That wraps it up for After Dark here on this Thursday night edition. I'll be back tomorrow night hosting Friday. So a double dose.
You got a few younger dudes than me and Prohm.
Yeah, I don't know if colonoscopies will come up tomorrow night. I think
colonoscopies will not come up. I saw Prohm yawning at one point. I'm ready to make a run for the toilet.
Yeah, I've been sick.
Yeah. That's going to be Ace Robinson's pregame. That's what After Dark is going to be tomorrow.
Probably.
But all right, cheers everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to Greg behind the scenes producing.